Hello and welcome to the fifth of Ovid's Heroides. This letter is from Oenone, who is a water nymph who lives in a forest outside Troy, and she is the first wife of Paris, who leaves her in order to go and claim Helen of Sparta at the time, who will go on to become Helen of Troy. I always think it's worth bearing in mind that when Paris and Helen elope, they leave behind two people, not just one. We always think of Menelaus, the husband of Helen, who gathers a huge army alongside his brother Agamemnon, and they all sail to Troy to bring her back. Oenone responds to the loss of her husband by bringing up their child single-handedly. Sometimes I think we forget what a hero might actually be. Anyway, this is the poem from Oenone to Paris, and she is not as sympathetic as I have just made her sound, I promise you. Will you read this? She says at the start, or doesn't your new wife let you? You should read it. It's not like it's coming from a Mycenaean hand. What she means there is it's not like Menelaus or one of his friends is writing to Paris with a sort of threat. It's just from a nymph, don't worry. Nope, she says, it's from the fountain nymph Oenone. I am very famous in the Phrygian woods. I absolutely love this as a suggestion. To be celebrated within a wood is something we should all aspire to. It's even better than being big in Japan. What crime have I committed which means you won't stay with me? She asks. And then she starts to get a little bit status aware. She says, you weren't anyone when you were happily married to me, whereas I was the daughter of a great big river. So who is the impressive one here? She says, sure, now you're the son of Priam. Paris is sort of abandoned as a child because, in various versions of the myth, because he's destined to cause the downfall of Troy. And so he grows up as a sort of shepherd around Mount Ida in this very rural idyll. That's where he meets Oenone. But when he goes to Troy to sort of reclaim his patrimony and say, look, I am the son you lost, he goes up in the world, I suppose we might say, moves from a sort of rural idyll life to a life of luxury in the city. And this is something that bothers Oenone a lot, it is fair to say. She says, yeah, now you're a son of Priam, but you were a slave. And I was quite happy to marry a slave, even though I was a nymph and daughter of a great big river. I can't tell you how much that makes me happy. She talks about that kind of idyllic life. She says, we made our bed on leaves and grass. We had a little hut that protected us when it was frosty. I love this. You carved my name. You carved Oenone into a poplar tree. Yes, Paris, not just a wife stealer, also a vandal. That's all I'm saying. And as the tree grew, she says, so my name grew with it. And she says, and then you wrote, if Paris leaves Oenone and still breathes, let the waters of the river Xanthus flow back towards its source. Well, river Xanthus, Paris did, she says, spurn Oenone, so you should be flowing backwards right now because he is definitely still breathing. I kind of like her at this point. She gets worse, I'm afraid. Now she says, it's amoris hiems, it's the winter of my love. What an incredible two-word phrase. Ovid is so good at these. She says it all went wrong when Paris judged the beauty competition between Juno, Minerva and Venus. That's Hera, Athene and Aphrodite. The judgment of Paris, as it's known, when the golden apple has to be awarded to one. He gets it right, and as far as Venus is concerned, very wrong as far as the other two are concerned. And his reward for choosing Venus is Helen. Which obviously causes a 10-year war and the destruction of a city. So, reward. She says, when you left me, you wept. Flesti discerdens, hoc saltem parce negare. You left me crying. Don't pretend that you didn't now. Don't try and deny it now. We both wept. She says, our tears mingled. You clung to me like a vine clings to an elm. You kept pretending that the wind wasn't favourable so you could come back and embrace me again. The other sailors were laughing at you because it was all fine and they were ready to go. I prayed for your swift return, she says. How was I to know my prayers were helping someone else and not me? And she knows that things have gone wrong when she sees the ship come back. I saw something flash purple, she said. Purple is an incredibly expensive fabric in the ancient world. It's made from the shells of the murex, the sort of sea snails. It's incredibly expensive to make. It's what Roman emperors' purple togas were made of many, many centuries later. She says, I saw something flash purple and I was worried because you were never that fancy before. Then, of course, she sees that Paris is with Helen. She tears her clothes, she rips her cheeks open. And then she turns vengeful. She says, I hope Helen is abandoned. I hope she grieves like this. She hurt me first. She deserves it. Let her feel it. The essence of Oenone's problem, though, is not just Helen. It's that Paris has changed. Now he wants this sort of fancy city life. He doesn't want a simple rural life, which is what she was part of. And she's hurt on multiple levels, therefore. She says, I would have been an excellent daughter-in-law to Priam and to Hecuba. They didn't need to be ashamed of me if that's the life that you wanted. She is, let's remind ourselves, the daughter of a great big river. She's very respectable in river terms. My love was safe, she says. It didn't provoke any wars. It didn't draw avenging ships across the waves. I wonder a little bit if that's what hurts the most, that she was such a safe bet for Paris, and of course in the end he chose danger. He chose the war rather than the woman who loved him. The army that moves against you has just cause, she says. Paris is in the wrong. He did steal another man's wife. Does she burn with love for you, she asks, because she did the same for Menelaus. That's the trouble with being a second husband, huh? You know that someone's loved before. She says, Cassandra, your sister, Cassandra saw this coming. She said, sink the filthy Greek ship while you still can. I love Cassandra. There's nothing to say beyond that. I love her. Oenone's jealousy really gets the better of her towards the end of this poem. She blames Helen for the fact that Helen was abducted as a child by Theseus and raped by him. She says, if you go around getting abducted all the time, you must be doing something to provoke it. It is obviously a particularly horrible moment. But a few lines later, line 149, we realise why she might be so angry. She references her own rape at the hands of a man named Tros, the founder of Troy, the legendary founder of Troy. He gives Oenone healing powers as compensation for the loss of her virginity, which she didn't want but ends up with. But she says there isn't any medicine for love. I was yours, she concludes, when we were young. I pray to be yours always. I'm afraid she's too late. Paris is one of those rare people who gets multiple letters in the Heroides. He'll get a letter from Helen later on, and that connects him in an extremely unfavourable group with the recipient of the next letter, Jason. Jason will be receiving letters from both Hypsipyle, letter 6, and later Medea. So well done him. You have to be a particular cad to get more than one letter in this collection. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.